The Traitors US Season 4 reaches its climax as we find out if the Traitors took their second win or did the Faitfuls win for a third time in a row. The episode picks back up with Alan on the cusp of telling everyone who the latest and last murdered Faithful would be. Eric and Rob chose to murder Mark. I thought they might keep him in and get rid of Tara, but I understood why Mark was chosen. Getting rid of Mark would remove one less Faithful who was suspicious of Eric, and Rob needed the numbers on his side a little further into the final. While Moira didn't understand why she's still in the game, I didn't understand why she never questioned who specifically might benefit from keeping her in this game for so long. There's part of me that was surprised Eric even made it to the final day. I thought he would have been voted out, but when a Faithful mentioned his name, they were murdered that night, so it didn't carry through to the others in the game. Despite Eric still being in the game, it just felt like a matter of when and not if he would be banished. When it really came down to things, it was a tale of two alliances. Eric and Rob were leaning on Moira to vote out Johnny then Tara, while Johnny and Tara were looking to vote for Eric, but they needed Moira. Johnny and Tara, also known as the Skating Twins, were a late known voting bloc who probably should have been broken up before the final. At least everyone later found out that they were going to vote the same, which made things a little easier to predict where the votes were going to go. Tara was trying to convince Moira to vote with them, so it was becoming evident that Moira was going to be the swing vote for the first one. While I could see Moira possibly voting for Eric, in the end I was convinced Moira wouldn't vote for Rob. It was the one person Moira was adamant wasn't a traitor. I never got why Moira was like that with Rob, as it's not like they have the kind of history and long time friendship that Johnny and Tara have. We're all used to traitors lying, but sometimes we forget the lies Faithfuls tell. Here we had Moira lying to Eric, which Rob is very aware of due to the fact Moira had already spoken to Rob about her suspicions of Eric. Is this the most excited for a mission that Moira has been? While she was decent for the Carousel Stuffed Animals mission, Moira was excited from the start of this mission because of the helicopter. The players needed to be split into two teams. Moira and Rob went on the helicopter, while Eric, Johnny and Tara were to get on a boat and make it to 4 pontoons. Each pontoon had a chest which had a question about their fellow players in the game. Moira and Rob would take a card that had the picture of who they thought was the answer and then drop the card with a capsule that had the amount they could win. If correct, the chest would open and they would bank the money. They managed to answer all 4 correctly, which meant they banked $20,000. With 5 minutes and 20 seconds left, Alan gave them a chance to double the money. One from the helicopter would need to jump into the water, fetch the buoy and swim to shore. As Moira can't swim, Rob took the plunge. With seconds to spare, Rob got the cards on the chest where Alan and the boat team were standing. That meant another $20,000 was banked, taking the total to $220,800. Now the question was, would 1, 2 or 3 players share the prize pot? On the way to the mission, I was wondering if Tara pressing Eric to come up with a name might count against him later on. I thought Eric should have just said he thinks it's either Johnny or Tara instead of saying Moira. Eric gave them something that could help Johnny and Tara swing Moira to their side. All eyes were on Eric, and it was increasingly likely that it was him that was going to get banished. I think Eric needed to be a bit better at defending himself. I think he was still finding it hard since the switch and didn't fully adapt to the traitor role. Rob, still needing Eric, tried to keep turning the conversation off Eric and onto Johnny and Tara. For the vote, I really thought Johnny and Tara had convinced Moira and that she was going to vote for Eric. That was the key play. Voting Eric out would have increased the odds of the Faithfuls winning, but Moira voted for Johnny and Johnny was banished with 3 votes compared to 2 votes for Eric. All the players voted to banish. Once again, Tara needed Moira to vote with her and not with Eric and Rob. With Moira still on Eric, I wondered what would happen if there were multiple tied votes at the Fire of Truth. Well, I didn't find out that answer because Moira voted for Tara like Eric and Rob did. At this point, I was laughing. The Traitors had won the US version for the first time since season 1 with Suri. Now the question was, would Rob win alone or would he win with Eric? Eric voted to end the game while Moira and Rob chose to banish. Eric didn't give up and made a plea before the vote, but it was in vain as both Moira and Rob voted for Eric. Eric thought things would be different with him as opposed to all the other traitors Rob voted out. Rob was already lying to Moira, so one more lie wouldn't have made any difference. I feel like no matter who was a traitor with Rob, he probably would do the same thing to become the sole winner. Many have done what Rob did and many have shared it. Even faithfuls have cut others out to get as much money as possible. As they say, don't hate the player, hate the game. Rob played a very good social and strategic game that has ended up with him winning the prize pot of $220,800. Congratulations to Rob. Between the misguided traitor picks by production, controversial casting, questionable gameplay and overhyped moments that felt flat, I didn't enjoy this season as much as other US seasons. I never had the feeling of urgency to watch it or the feeling that I can't wait for the next episode. I didn't even mind being spoilt even though I did manage to avoid knowing about eliminations before I actually watched it. I felt no excitement. In fact, I felt dread for most of the season. If I wasn't covering it, I would have checked out before the end of the season and just looked up who won. It's the first time I felt this way out of any US seasons of The Traitors and the second time in any edition within the whole franchise. Though I have felt a bit weary of other US seasons, I think I've grown weary of the celebrities that have been cast, or that this one just turned out to be a disappointment. My hope is that when the US edition does its full civilian cast, then it might make me look forward to the US version. I don't know what the next celebrity version has in store for us, but they need to be better at not only who they cast, but also who they pick as the starting traitors. At first I thought it'd be funny if Alan picked traitors full of all housewives, but I stopped thinking that would be funny very quickly. It was good that they didn't go with any gamers to mix it up, but I think the traitor picks should have been mixed up a little further. There were enough non-gamers and housewives to pick traitors outside of these groups. Maybe I'm being a little harsh. Let me know in the comments what you thought of the whole season. Anyway, I am off to catch one of the European editions as I wait for the reboots of both Australia and New Zealand. I will attempt to cover those two seasons with the usual episodic videos, though I don't know when the seasons will start and what the schedule looks like. In the meantime, I'll be dropping some videos that are not episode reviews, so look out for them. Until next time.